have?
Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker.
I was very disappointed.
All I want is to see Mr. Fantastic prank Doctor Doom. I didn't just get the cure to L cancer. I got the cure to L everything.
Doughnut Revenge.
I'll be back. And we're back. This is the Doughnut Revenge podcast. I'm Jeremy Lynch.
And I am Lauren DeVries.
We are here at each other's throats, about to murder each other.
Yes.
And we're going to explain why. So we're going to pause right here, if you will, this vivid picture of us about to, kill each other, like Kill Bill style. And we're going to pause here for a flashback. It's really sharp,
From
too.
that vine. What do you have? A knife! No!
We're going to pause here for a flashback on our origin story and how we got here. But before we do that, oh my gosh.
Comic-Con.
Okay, I know Comic-Con was a few days ago, but the dust is still settling, folks. Wow, what a game changer. We have the next year's worth of Marvel movies announced. The beginning of Phase 4, which is eventually going to reveal the Fantastic Four and the X-Men. And by the way, I'm still perpetuating the rumor that John Krasinski is going to be the next Mr. Fantastic.
I really hope so. That would be so lovely.
All I want is to see Mr. Fantastic prank Doctor Doom. He can put his death ray in Jell-O.
He's going to need a lot of Jell-O for that.
Or move his castle into the bathroom. It would be so great. It'd be so great. Please,
Wrap
Kevin.
it in Christmas paper.
Please, Kevin Feige, make this happen. Also, we're looking forward to several movies, including the origin story of Black Widow, the Eternals, which is a shocker to a lot of people because most people haven't heard of the Eternals until this movie.
Why don't you tell us what it is?
I am just so offended and frustrated that I've never heard of them either.
Oh, man. Plot twist.
Until they were announced several months ago that this movie was coming out, I was oblivious to that this existed. But it'll be interesting because it's going to feature Kumail, if you're familiar with Stuber, or if you're just familiar with his specials on the internet. He's this funny guy.
He's great. He was good in Portlandia.
Yes.
My favorite.
Alongside Angelina Jolie.
Wow.
I mean, this is going to be
Wow.
I mean, it's got me there. I don't even have to Google what these characters are about from the comic books. I'm going to see this movie.
That's right.
And
we're also really excited about What If.
What If? So, besides the next several movies, Marvel has also announced that there's going to be several series.
Which is going to be really awesome for us as Marvel fans and viewers.
Yes, these are going to be featured on the Disney streaming platform when that comes out. And it's going to include such series as Wanda and Vision.
Oh, we love Wanda and Vision.
I can see, you're not here, Lauren's eyes are filling with stars and heart
They're
emojis.
glistening with hopes and dreams.
So there's going to be a 6-part series about their time together in Europe before the events of Infinity War. There's going to be a series about Loki, which apparently is going to take place after the events of the first Avengers, when he had the Infinity Stone. Man, I just botched that. Guys, I swear, I am a Marvel fan. I know what the Tesseract is.
I just want a whole series of Loki just messing around. I would just watch him just walking around in costume all day.
Okay, but Lauren, tell us about the What If series.
The What If series features my favorite trope in cinema, which is the alternate universes, what would happen if this, what would happen if that. My favorite way that this has been done is the Community series with the dice rolls and the alternate realities. And I'm really excited for Marvel, and we're going through a couple of things that we don't know yet exactly what's happened because they didn't happen, but we get to see what would have happened if they had come to pass. That sounds very confusing.
And by the way, this was a common thing in the Marvel comic books. There were a number of what if stories told, and I remember these comics vividly from my childhood. In fact, my comic collection consisted of random comic books my dad pulled out of the dollar bin at the comic book store. So I
Always good.
So I usually had part 2 of this series with Captain America and part 3 of that series with Spider-Man, and had to piece it all together. But my favorites were the standalone what if, and it usually featured the Watcher, which we know
yes.
exists in the MCU because we've
yes.
seen him talking to Stan Lee.
The Watcher.
The Watcher. And basically it starts off with him explaining, this is what happened in the story you're familiar with, but what if Iron Man didn't get kidnapped? Or what if Steve Rogers wasn't picked to be Captain America? You know, things like that, you know, that change.
All sorts of cool things that we're excited for.
You know, so that's what's going to be in there. And
There are literally endless possibilities here. Marvel could do this for the next 20 years, and I would probably go see all of them.
The sad truth is, I probably would too.
We all would. Let's just own it right now. We all would.
Picard. Let's skip to Star Trek.
Oh, Picard.
Okay, I have been waiting for some information on this movie for over a year, because it's been over a year since Patrick Stewart announced that he was going to be in another project reclaiming the mantle of Captain Jean-Luc Picard. And we finally have something to go on here, and it looks amazing.
It does. It looks really good. But I have a confession to make.
Okay.
I'm a Kirk fan. I will go see Picard and I will love it. But James Tiberius Kirk will always be my captain.
I have a confession to make.
Yes?
I never liked Michael Shatner as Captain Kirk. Even, like, before they
You mean
did...
William Shatner?
That's how much I didn't like him.
Oh, that's so sad. He did such a good over-the-top acting. Like, that's why it was good. So many memes came out of his over-the-top acting.
I actually really like Star Trek, the original series, and I'll be frank, I like it better than Second Gen.
Oh, wow.
But Jean-Luc Picard, I grew up watching him. I was like 7 years old, maybe 4, and my parents would turn on the TV and a brand new episode of Star Trek would come on every week. But growing up, I liked the original series better, except I never liked William Shatner. But when Chris Pine took the role, I was like, yes, this is who Captain Kirk was meant to be all
Yeah, it's
along.
just, that was like his, like, younger self. And the Shatner Kirk is, you know, just him, like, later in life.
Okay, so let's get back to Picard, because it looks really cool.
Okay.
By the way, we got some great teasers that there are going to be some returning characters in this series, including Data, who is dead at the beginning of the series. So if you remember how
That's rough.
if you remember how Nemesis ended and things like that. But apparently he gets resurrected at some point, because there's a teaser at the end of the trailer where he's playing a game with Captain Kirk. So unless that's a flashback, they're going to resurrect Data.
Who knows?
We just don't
Vote
know.
in the comments. Flashback or resurrection? Please,
we need some input on this. There's going to be 7 out of 9 is going to be here. So for those of you who are familiar with Star Trek Voyager, and what's interesting about these two characters is both 7 out of 9 and Captain Picard used to be Borg. And they've never met until, as far as I know, and somebody can correct me in the comment section, but they have never met in a movie or TV show before. And it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out, the two former Borg. But I am dying to see this. It's not coming out till 2020. It's not going to be a movie. It's going to be a series.
Yeah, everybody's jumping on the series bandwagon here.
And it's easy to see why, because people, I mean, after Game of Thrones, people are really getting behind building a series that's going to have a mass audience. So we got a lot of high-budget series coming out on TV and streaming services.
And we're excited for all of them.
Speaking of Game of Thrones, Lawrence...
Did you guys hear that Nicholas Coster-Waldau got booed? Man, I mean, I get it though, because who among us was not disappointed by Jaime Lannister's character ending? I was very disappointed.
I saw it coming. Just kidding.
We had high hopes for our boy Jaime, and it just didn't work out. And Nikolaj was defending the character and saying that he thought that the ending for Jaime was something that was going to happen and was done well, and the fans did not react super well to that. So we all have our opinions on the ending of Game of Thrones.
Well, speaking of opinions, we're still here about to kill each other, and we need to do a flashback so the audience knows what's going on.
That's right. You guys need to know how Lauren and Jeremy met and what their current situation is, and just how we got to be doing this podcast.
Yes.
We're on episode 3 now, and we are excited about the project, but we are not excited about each other.
Yes. So without further ado, this is how we became sworn enemies.
Sworn enemies. All right, picture this. It is a warm, sunny afternoon, and I am sitting on my pastor's porch, hanging out with him, and we're talking about another member of the church who has a donut text.
By the way, Lauren is really close to her pastor. They hang out and they do stuff.
Yeah, I'm...
Little context here.
My pastor and his wife, we were all there. So, this donut text that one of our members has, where he will go get donuts, and then he'll just send out a text and say, I have donuts, which means come to my house and get the donuts. And I thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I was like, I want to be on the donut text. I want to get donuts. I want to be in on this. And apparently it was very exclusive. It's mainly family only. The pastor just heard about it through the grapevine. He's not on the text. And I thought, wow. I said to myself, and I said to my pastor and his wife, that I need to marry into the family. Now, this is quite difficult, as everybody in the family was married except for 2 kids. And one of them was having a very serious relationship with his girlfriend, and the other one was my good friend Sarah. And so I turned to the pastor and said, I just have to marry Sarah. And we all went, maybe not. So
I can just picture Tim's face.
Just that quizzical look that he gives me sometimes when he doesn't agree with me, but he doesn't really know what to say. And of course, when I told Sarah, Sarah was like, maybe not. So you can't just marry for things that you want anymore. That's not how we do things these days.
No?
People like to marry for love or like companionship, not like dowries. I would have a donut dowry, I guess. I guess.
So at your wedding, your father just has to provide donuts.
Yeah, donuts. A
Donuts
lot
for
of people do like donut walls at their weddings. That's all my dad has to do. So that's how this started for me.
So this is how Sarah marked. This is how Sarah got marked by Lauren. And on the other side of the story, I was out in the dating world. And by the way, guys, my game was pretty much top tier. I was
No.
No, you don't believe me?
No.
Well, you're right. I
didn't expect you to cave so easily.
I didn't have
Point for me.
Yes, I don't have anything to defend my dating life with. So I was actually complaining to one of my best friends who I had just actually got set up with her boyfriend about my love life, and she goes, "Oh, I know somebody that you need to meet." And she goes, "Would you mind if I introduced you?" I was like, "Sure." At this point, why not? So I actually started to get a little excited. I'm not going to lie. I was like, I wonder how this is going to turn out. Well, a year goes by, and I don't hear anything from her about this girl that she wants to introduce me to. And I forgot. So her family was having this party. I was going to go to it. But then I decided I wasn't going to go to it because I was sick and I was having people over at my house the next day and I needed to do stuff. And I texted her, I said, "I'm sorry, Lindsay, I'm not going to come to your party." And she goes, "That's too bad. the girl I told you about is going to be there.
Ooh.
And I said, what girl? And she never replied.
She said, you know the one.
But you better believe I canceled everything and went to this party. But what was so awkward about this is Lindsay never told me anything about Sarah. Never told me her name. Never showed me a picture of her. Didn't even point her out when I started talking to her.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I'm sitting there with Lindsay and a group of her friends. And I'm just looking around in my head going, which one is she? So I just picked a random, and it ended up being Sarah, and we've been together ever since.
Oh.
So that was our blind date, if you will. Our blind date that I guess wasn't supposed to be blind, but ended up being blind. Well, anyway, so as Lauren mentioned, Sarah's brother was in a serious relationship at the time, and they were having a wedding. And
As you do.
Yes, as one does, apparently. And they had sent out the invitations, and at first they only sent out invitations to their family, which was much to Lauren's distress.
I know. I thought that I would get the first invitation. I'm obviously the most important one.
Well, it was clearly an oversight on their part.
Yeah.
I just decided I was going to go whether or not they invited me, because, Sarah. But then they decided to open their hearts and invite me.
I got an invite too.
Yes, a couple weeks later.
With the second batch of invitations. But the sad thing is that this wedding was on a Friday, and this happened to be the one Friday in all of my existence at the job that I was at the time that I absolutely had to be at work. And I could not get off. I couldn't switch. I couldn't make an excuse. And so I missed the wedding. I couldn't go to the wedding. And therefore, I couldn't hang out with Sarah and keep this interloper out of our lives.
So to sum up the story so far, I got to go to the wedding, and she didn't. And Lauren's been a sourpuss ever since.
I'm still bitter.
Sourpuss. Sourpuss.
Stop that.
Sourpuss. And that's about the point where she started to plot my demise.
I did.
We would see each other in social gatherings, and Lauren would tell me about all the wonderful booby traps that she set out for me.
I said, welcome to church. Careful which chair you sit in. There's a bomb under one of them.
Yes,
the one that I know that you'll sit in.
Welcome to church, the place where everyone's welcome. I'm going to kill you today.
We're very Roadrunner and Coyote in our antics. And so I actually got to talking about just how far I would go for this shtick. And we got somehow on the subject of my wedding.
Oh, now it's a shtick?
Which, hey, I'm trying to throw you off. Or am I? So we got to talking about my wedding, which is funny because I am very far from being married. So very far. And so I decided that Jeremy couldn't come to my wedding. And he said, I'll just crash it like I did Daniel and Leslie's. Like he was going to do before he got the invite. And I said, no.
The first time.
I said, no. You will not be able to crash this wedding because I will throw a decoy wedding. I will pay a lot of money to throw a decoy wedding that you will get to and then realize that you're at the wrong wedding. And it'll have a live feed of me telling you that you're wrong and dumb.
That's how you're going to spend your wedding day.
Yes.
Live streaming.
My husband will be like, honey, can we have our first dance now? And I'm like, not busy. No. I'm busy gloating. It'll be great.
The way I picture this scenario going down is I'm probably going to be in the dome of a planetarium, and you'll be talking to me, telling me about how you're going to kill me and everything. Yeah. And it'll play out somewhat similar to the scene in Megamind where Metro Man and Megamind are arguing with each other.
Yeah, it'll end just like that.
You can't trap justice.
Oh, Megamind, what a good movie. So that's where we are still now currently, is we'll greet each other and we will say, hello, nice to see you. I hope you've built up an immunity to poison because I put it in your coffee.
Inconceivable.
What else? What are some other things we've said? The ejector seats in your car. All sorts of stuff.
Hidden trapdoors that lead to a pit of crocodiles.
Yes. All good. All things that we definitely can do and have resources to do.
Yes. This is totally realistic, guys.
Yeah. So if at any point in this podcast, present or future or past, you hear us threaten each other, it's just who we are.
It's just what we do. By the way, as we talk, I'm having Sarah set up a bear trap outside the door for you.
Great. Sarah would never hurt me, so
That's why I paid
it's
somebody
probably defective.
That's why I paid somebody to set up a second one to make sure it gets done right.
Good. Well, thanks for revealing all of your cards.
Those aren't all of my cards. Those are just the ones I want you to worry about.
Sure.
But we have decided, for the time being, that we are going to set aside our differences for you, the listeners, to present to you this podcast full of all sorts of relevant pop culture, nerd culture, Harry Potter, MCU, Star Trek type things, Star Wars, Lord of the Rings.
And now you know why our podcast is called Doughnut Revenge.
It's the revenge of the donuts. It all started with that donut text, which I'm not on, by the way.
I am actually on the donut text by now.
It's okay.
I was promoted.
Sarah will just tell me when there are donuts, and I will come and eat donuts.
And I will make sure that there are none for you. I will sit there and eat all of them.
All of them.
All of them. So I have a blind date story.
Ooh, okay.
And it's not a story that I'm proud of. But I will tell it anyway because it's funny. I went on a blind date once. It was a double blind date.
How does that work? I need some light on this.
Well, okay, so it was two friends that I knew who were dating, who took me and another guy, and we had never met. So it was like a double date, but it was also a blind date, so it was weird.
You weren't going on a blind date with two guys.
No, it was me and a guy that I didn't know, and then my friend who's a guy and my friend who's a girl that are dating.
I mean, how would that work? You'd have to spot the first one and then sit around and wait for the second one.
We don't know. It's fine. It's fine. We don't need to worry about that.
Okay, so that's not what happened.
No, so that's not what happened. But guess what activity we did for this double blind date?
While you're a teenager.
Yeah, I'm in high school. We went hot tubbing, and I don't know why I agreed to this because it was real awkward. And needless to say, I didn't talk to him again after that. It was really weird. I wear glasses, and I don't think I look cool without my glasses now because I've worn them for so long. So I probably was like squinting the whole time, and it was steamy in there, and I was just like, "What?" So it was not a A+ date.
Awkward teenager scenarios.
Yeah, you know.
Besides, if you talk to him, what would you say? Oh yeah, I'm that really awkward girl from that awkward time.
Well, I wouldn't say I'm the awkward girl. I'd just be like, hey, remember the time you went on a blind date to go hot tubbing of all things? That was me. Yeah, if you have an awkward situation, just know that it doesn't have to end badly. It could end up like my story, or it could end up like Jeremy's story.
Or it could end up like Lauren's Harry Potter thought of the day.
That makes absolutely no sense. But my Harry Potter thought of the day, for those of you who don't know this segment, is where I present a Harry Potter thought of the day with no defense, just a statement, because if I tried to defend it every time, it would be a whole different podcast.
But if you want to contest it, that's what the comment sections are for.
Sure. Go ahead and contest me.
We are open to fiery debates in our comment sections. We will welcome those.
All right, sure. My thought of the day is that Harry Potter is an unreliable narrator. Come at me.
Dun, dun, dun. I actually want to see this elaborated on in the comment section because I feel like not everybody understood what that means. So somebody please ask her to explain this.
Get ready for like a blog post, a whole blog post.
On a side note, I do have to offer up a retraction on a statement from one of our previous episodes. We were talking about the new Batwoman series that's going to be airing on the CW. It was just announced at Comic-Con and featuring Kate Kane.
Remember when we were so sad that she wasn't Barbara Gordon? She was never Barbara Gordon. We got them mixed up.
So apparently there is a Batwoman and a bad girl. Which I remember knowing that at some point in my childhood, but since Batwoman was never in Batman the Animated Series, I forgot.
Which is where Jeremy got all of his extensive knowledge.
Not all of it.
Most of it.
Yes, most of it.
Anyway, we apologize for slandering the character of Barbara Gordon.
No, we apologize for slandering the character of Kate Kane, Batwoman.
Both of them.
Who has always been Batwoman and will continue to be Batwoman for generations to come.
Everyone will know her name.
In a world lacking in social justice, she shall bring social justice. I feel like I could have said that better. I'm sorry, guys.
It's fine. It's whatever.
It is
What time is it now, Jeremy?
It's time for our one-sentence story. We are continuing the saga of the fun and the terrible life of Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker in trying to be the greatest chef of all time.
Mm-hmm. Where did we last leave our little buddy Chester?
We left Chester knocked out on the floor by the door of his beloved stove.
Mm-hmm.
By the way,
what was in the stove?
The stove, the gas lines were blocked by avocados and bananas, so the stove wouldn't work. And this was right after he tried to convince his father not to get a new stove.
Yep. Brings us up to speed. You want to start?
I will start. Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker woke up in his bed with a terrible headache.
When he awoke, he tried to remember what had happened the day before and found that all he could remember was that his beloved stove was being replaced. So he jumped out of bed and ran to the kitchen.
Where his stove once was, he found an empty space, standing next to which was his older sister Zoe, who was popping a bubble gum.
Mm-hmm. So he said, "Guess what, little brother? Got rid of your stove."
Dobby said, "What do you mean? What happened?"
She said, "I saw how much you love that stove, and I thought you were dumb for it. So I filled the stove with bananas and avocados from my school lunches. And I told Dad that since it was not working anymore, we had to replace it."
Dobby gasped.
Stop calling him Dobby.
I can't. Like, I picture Dobby when I say this character. Chester gasped and bolted to the front door. From his porch, he could see the stove sitting out on the curb. He could also see a metal collector's truck coming down the road.
Mm-hmm. He decided that the only thing that he could do to save his stove was to distract the driver of the truck.
I think that's a pretty steep place to leave it.
We'll have to see what he does.
Tune in next time to hear the rest of the fun and the terrible life of Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker in trying to be the greatest chef of all time.
That's right.
We should really shorten that name. Maybe come up with an acronym. TFATTLOCTMSITTBTGCOALT. That's so much easier to say. We should do that.
I don't think it means what you think it means.
Stay tuned. Next time we're going to be talking about our movie shames.
We all have them. Things we haven't watched that we should have watched.
Our deep, dark secrets, our skeletons in the closet.
Mm-hmm. We're going to get it all out.
Just a little teaser. We got some really great dirt on Lauren here. You guys really need to tune in for this.
Actually, you can skip this one if you want.
Please like, subscribe, and share this video. Don't forget to hit the notification bell to find out when the next episode airs and find out what happens next to Chester Dobby McMillan Skywalker and the rest of our movie shames.
All right.
Doughnut Revenge.